We're live back again for another live stream. I would like to welcome everybody in with us. It's boy Jared T123. We are here with Chic Bangs. You heard her music right there. We're gonna get all into that. First and foremost, Chic, how you feeling?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. I've been in a little bit of a healing cave from healing from the Justin Bieber syndrome, Ramsey Hunt. So every day that I am able to, work and do things and be present, I'm super grateful for.
For sure. I definitely can understand that. Like I've I've been getting over like my kid brought home a cold from school and
Oh,
like just that. I'm like, ugh. So like I can't
yeah,
really imagine how you're feeling. I like the setup back there. Like the lamp right there is kind of
thank you.
swaggy.
Isn't that
Um,
awesome? My
yeah.
husband and I actually inherited that from his great aunt. So it's like straight out of the 60s. It's awesome.
It
Same
fits.
with the blue chair behind me. Wrong way. I can't see it. Yeah, we have a cool little blue chair back there too. So a
It's
little
all good.
studio
It's all good.
setup.
So I want to start off right away. We're gonna start right about I've got a lot of things to ask you.
Okay.
We're gonna talk to people about how you cheat at rock, paper, scissors, or checkered
Lies.
path on the underground rock, paper, scissors scene, the music that you're working on, what just came out, but that's how I wanna start. I wanna start with what just came out. So, you had your Sound Genesis, and we heard a little bit of the song right there in that promo video called "Shake." Um, let's just talk about that song. How did that one come to be? Have you been sitting on that a while? Is it a relatively new thing, or what's going on with that?
Um, the creation of it is brand new. The idea of it, the concept is a couple years old. Um, I've been wanting to like really honor this time in my life where I was part of this dance troupe, a Tahitian dance troupe, and the rhythm and the beats and the drums. And it was a really impactful time for me. Um, I shed a lot of layers. I didn't realize like how disconnected from myself I was. And so when I became a DJ and producer, I was like, man, I've got to be able to like someday I want to be able to put those drums and those sounds into a song. And so the idea has been like, it's been simmering for a really long time. And then when Amon reached out to me and invited me to drop on sound, I was like, okay, I've got to try it. I've got to at least try it. I don't know if it's going to translate, but I got to try it. Um, and I'm super stoked because it worked out better than I thought. And it just came, it was one of those songs that just like, it just came out. It was very much a flow state. So yeah, I'm super, super pumped on that.
I love to hear that, and I think it's really interesting whenever you speak with anybody that's able to find that state and actually, like, do something in their own realm of productivity, just how much you can get done. So, naturally, I have to ask, was that the only thing that came out, or did you go on a creative wave? You got more that, like, you got on deck for us?
Yep, I'm still in the process of creating it. It was the catalyst for sure. I work really well with a deadline. Otherwise, I can just kind of float around forever, like with these ideas. So having that deadline really pushed me to get it completed. And with all the growing pains that go along with that, where you have to apply the discipline and the work ethic and sit down and actually work on it. You can't just I'll get to that, or I don't feel like it today. It's got to be that consistent, work. And so I'm really excited because it definitely opened the flow for more. So yeah, I'm super excited.
I'm excited to hear it. Obviously, I'm a fan. I wanna get into so you touched on when you became a DJ and a producer, and, like, you're not a rookie at this by any means, like, you know what you're doing, and you've been doing it for some time. I think on your website, you started, like, some time ago, if I remember the verbiage right, but how did this come to be? Like, was this for the people that are unfamiliar,
Yeah.
I have to admit that I creeped, I watched a lot of your social media, so I'm prepared for everything, so I but just for anybody that's not familiar, how what was the work in progress like to get to this point to where now you're actually releasing music as NFTs and kind of living on your art, your creation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to say that you did your research, so you don't have to feel like you were creeping. You were doing your research. This came to be, so I've always been in music, like a classically trained musician, piano, vocal, lessons my whole life. I was always in competitions and concerts and choir and all that kind of stuff growing up. And then when I met my husband in 2007, we were at a house party and the turntables were set up, and I had no idea that he could DJ. And so he hopped on, and I was like, wait, what? Because here's a little secret. When I was in high school, I took, the career placement test, and my number one job came back as a DJ. And I was a little embarrassed. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like, really? That's like,
I didn't know that was a possibility, honestly.
yeah, I didn't understand it. I just associated it with like a radio DJ. And funny enough, I actually did host a morning radio show. So it did come full circle. And so in 2008, I was just like really practicing a lot between 2007 and 2008. And then was offered club residency. So there was a time where between my husband and I, we had 5 residencies every week. So like our saying was always our weekend starts on Wednesday, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we were going to support a lot of friends, throughout the rest of the week. So that was my entry into DJing. I've been really fortunate to have an incredible variety of gigs. I've done fashion runway shows multiple times. I've done art galas. I've done, openings for local businesses, clubs, obviously festivals, all kinds of really cool stuff. And then in 2010, I wanted to learn how to produce. And it was more like I was kind of sitting in with my husband. He's been making music since before we met, and kind of slowly learning the ropes. And, I'd contribute here and there. And then I started like really contributing and co-producing and co-writing a lot of the songs that he was working on. I have a lot of vocal performances with Custom Model Music. And then I had always been a DJ, and so I was like, what if I released my own music? And so in 2019, I was filling up notebooks of my own lyrics, and then 2020, I was like, okay, I'm just going to try and start. And the first song I wrote and finished was Focus. And I played it in a clubhouse room for TT the artist. It was like an open mic night. There were like 12 people in there, and she loved it. And so that gave me the fuel to finish it. And then I kind of sat on it. I was like, well, I've learned from Custom Model Music, like if you put it out on Spotify, it kind of sits there. So I don't really know what to do with it. And then Web3 entered. And so I was like, well, I can release it as an NFT, and let's see how that goes. So it's interesting to do it the opposite way that I had always experienced releasing music with my partner up until then. So this is like NFTs first, and then like, SoundCloud, Spotify, regular DSPs. So yeah,
that's really cool. And it's interesting. I think there's been more and more people that are starting to go that way, where they go Web3 first and then into like the traditional like DSPs and whatnot. Heavy on the Clubhouse days. I remember I spent too much time in Clubhouse.
But I learned a lot back then.
Definitely. I'm curious though, when did you get your first introduction? Not necessarily to NFTs, but maybe to crypto. Was Clubhouse the catalyst there?
It definitely ignited that. I have a friend here locally. Her name is Denise, and she was like big into Bitcoin, and she actually was accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment for her business. And I was like, that's so wild and out there, and I love that. I just didn't know how to get into it. And then it was actually through a series of tweets from RAC on Twitter. And I started noticing like, oh, he's releasing his art in crypto. What is this? And so I started diving into those Twitter threads, went to Zora's website, was reading the manifesto. I was like, how do we get in there? And then definitely finding the rooms in Clubhouse and listening to a lot of conversations, and listening to like Medved and Matt and a lot of people that were sharing so generously there.
Yeah. No, I will say, like, for all the grifters that people talk about, there's a lot of good folks on this side that you can get a lot of good information for. And anybody that's listening to this now or after the fact, if anyone's ever trying to charge you for information, turn around. Never need to get charged for information. We can always get you the information for free. Someone like she is obviously very knowledgeable. Be happy to help you out here on the Huddle Inside. I want to go back though. You had mentioned that you've had an array of different things that you got into, whether that's fashion or art and things like that. And like looking at your site and looking at some of the art, like it seems actually kind of evident to me, like the crossover feels very natural. Are you always working on that at, like, simultaneously? Is there an inclination at different times? Like, are you just music focused right now, or is it kind of just like the full zone?
It's pretty much the full zone. Creative expression, whether it's through music, my movement practice, or sitting down and creating art, or grabbing my sketch pad and just writing things out, drawing and sketching. And I do a lot of conceptualization for my ideas when it comes to like the cerebral things, the really analytical things. I'll grab my sketchbook and like draw the words, draw the images that I can see, and see if I can piece some things together that analytically maybe am not thinking of. So yeah, it's very much a flow state for me. If I start to feel stuck, I remember saying in a Twitter space, like sometime months ago, I was like, I don't think I'm going to produce anymore. I'm over it because I was feeling like really stuck in that medium. And so I switched mediums and I would focus more on, digital art again and just get that creativity going in a different way. And I feel really grateful that I'm able to do that because I know that it's very helpful for my process.
And to me, it makes a lot of sense. It's really interesting. I think we all kind of go through it whenever whatever you're working on, like being able to switch up the medium, like sometimes is a godsend, right? Like you're just like, man, I just need to do something different, whether you're just out of ideas or bored or whatever it may be.
For sure.
Which leads me to ask, do you read much at all?
I do read. Yeah, I've always been a big reader since I was a kid. Yeah,
Nice. Have you read the Rick Rubin book?
not yet. It's on my list. I'm trying to finish a few books right now. I go through like a few books at a time, kind of bounce
Okay.
around. But yeah, it's on my list.
I mentioned that because he touches on that in there, and obviously he's worked with like everyone, but all these different things where he's switching up the medium or setting different parameters, like how you said earlier, like setting the deadline helped you, but then there could be another time that setting the deadline could be stifling. So I think there's a lot to glean from that sort of thing. Curious though, what is uh, so two reading related questions. What are you
Hmm.
reading right now, and what is your favorite book? I'm going to make you choose one.
Choose one. Okay. I'm reading Yearbook by Seth Rogen because I needed a little comedy and like the levity. Um, and I'm also reading this book called Women Who Run with Wolves, and it's about women reclaiming their wild like nature. And then next on my list is This Is Not a T-Shirt. I really want to read that from Bobby Hundreds, and then the Rick Rubin book. My favorite book. Oh, that's hard, but I would say the most impactful would be The Four Agreements. That's probably one of my favorite books because it really helped me to understand how to communicate, how to not take things personally, how to focus. And it brought a lot of self awareness to my life. And every time I revisit that book, it reminds me like everything's okay. It's really
Yeah,
grounding for me.
I love that. I love that. And whenever it's something that you can go back to and read, I feel like you found something. Like also rereading, sometimes like you just find new little nuggets in there that you
For
wouldn't have
sure.
necessarily before.
Yeah.
Um, well, I gotta give the people what they want, and I gotta tell them about how we fought. We duked it out, merch at Art Basel, rock paper scissors style. And look, I'm gonna just throw it out there. Like you guys don't want it with Chic.
It's
She's
true.
she's coming with all the rock paper scissors stuff. But that was a fun story, right? So like I had
Yeah.
posted on Twitter like, "Hey, let's do rock paper scissors for an NFT." I happened to be handing out a bunch of Huddle In merch at the time, and so we just saw each other and we're like, "Let's get
No
it."
words. Not even a hello.
But it's fun though. I'd like to bring things like that to different things because I don't know. Maybe I play rock paper scissors too much because now my daughter is always like, "Dad, let's rock paper scissors for it," and I'm like,
Nice.
Whatever." Uh, but curious to know. Well, we're going to switch back into work mode a little bit with what you're working on, whether that's art or music or anything like that. Have you set any deadlines in the near future, whether that's like Q2, Q4, whatever it may be, for when we're going to see more from you?
Yeah, I'll call it a soft deadline. So it's not stifling, but I can also hold myself accountable to it. But my goal is to have um, at least the demo version of my album by the middle of March. Um,
Oh
yeah,
wow, that's close.
it is close, but that's my goal.
Oh, I love it. Well, to me, that just means that like you're pretty far along, right? To have the demo version of a full album, like
Yeah.
that means you've been putting in work, obviously. So that's really cool. Are you gonna do a Web 2, Web 3 thing, one or the other? Like, do you have any idea as far as like distributing it is concerned?
Yeah, I definitely want to distribute it in Web3, allow, my collectors access first. And I have some fans that are in Web2 that are really interested because they've seen all the promo for Shake and they're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get into it. So I have some room and some time to work with them and help them come along for the process before that. So yeah, I definitely want to do that, and I have some ideas of who I would like to reach out to as far as distribution when it comes to partnering with, like even small indie labels or distribution companies like that. So, and definitely going to be putting more stuff on Dequency as well for sync. So, yeah.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah. Shout out to Carla over there, uh,
Hmm.
putting in work. Um, Speaking of, and I think this is fun, like you and I had been talking recently, and I think we can drop a little bit of the alpha here, since it makes.
Okay.
Um, I was recently approached, like, and I've run into some different people making music that are curious about the Web3 area, and I was like, "Yeah, let's put together a mixtape." So we're just gonna put out like a mini mixtape this first time. It'd be like 4 or 5 songs on there, and Sheik has been kind enough to agree to work with me on this one and mix it all up. And so we're gonna do it like old, like uh, mixtape hip hop era, and kind of get some of that out there. Um, I'm super excited about it, and I know you're seasoned with mixtapes because obviously you've done your own before. Having heard the music, do you? And we're not going to play any music for anybody, so we're going to keep it a
Nope.
mystery.
That's too much alpha.
Yeah, exactly. You already have an idea of where you want to go with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. The songs are great. I think people are gonna love them. It's a whole vibe. I'm super excited to play with it and really dig into those sounds.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Um, there's one question that I always like to ask people, and sometimes I forget to. And yesterday I remembered right at the end to ask Sarah, and I get to remember now with you. Um, I find that there's always growing up, whether you're with a caretaker or a parent or a sibling or a cousin, whoever it may be, usually people are influenced musically by
For
who's
sure.
closest to them. And if they play one song over and over again, it's that one, they remember it. And so, like, I remember, the first CD I ever bought was an old Redman CD. The first tape I bought was like a Coolio tape. And I always tell everyone, like, the one tape that I know front to back, side to side, is the old Mariah Carey because my mom used to play that like to the death. And I hate the song Someday, but I know it through and through. Curious what that is to you.
What the album is, it's definitely TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool. I would just listen to it for hours and hours and hours with friends. Growing up, my mom was my biggest musical influence, and she was a huge fan of like the Supremes and the Temptations, and we listened to a lot of the Jackson Five and a lot of soul music. A lot of my parents are Southerners, so a lot of old country western. But my mom always had music on, especially when we were doing chores around the house, and we would just turn it up and dance around, and it made chores way more fun.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. You got to turn music on whenever you're cleaning.
For
Um,
sure.
but that's some good things to know. Watch out. If you guys ever turn on like the old school TLC, Sheik's probably gonna lose it. So just
For sure. Yes.
uh, back over to the Web3, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but back over to the Web3 side of things. Do you collect as well?
I do, yeah. I do
What was
as
your
much as I can, yeah.
what was your first ever NFT that you
My
collected?
first that I collected, that's a great question. I probably have to look. Let me think. It was art. I think it was Yosopa, who's an artist from the Dominican Republic. I want to say it was the Cute Pollitos. He's got these little, yeah, this amazing 3D art, and I love it. And I'm trying to remember my first music NFT. It's been a while, so I'm gonna have to look through my wallet. I don't remember.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's after a while, especially if you're collecting a lot, like, it's easy to forget. My first one was I got onboarded on the NFT side into Top Shot, so, like, that's how I discovered NFTs, and so
Yeah. Oh, I remember. It was on Mint Songs Polygon, and I collected really like that from Jamie Cornelia. That was my first music NFT.
shout out Jamie. I love what Jamie's working on. The art school dropout stuff is coming out great.
Yeah. Agree.
Speaking of Mint Songs, I saw a funny piece of content where you rebranded your Mint Songs hoodie, which I thought that was funny.
Thank you.
If you know, you know type of thing.
Uh-huh.
I was actually low key a little upset that I never got a Mint Songs hoodie, but whatever, you know.
Oh, yeah, you should have had one for sure.
But it's all good. Yeah, it's a relic now.
Yeah.
You're gonna jump again. What are you listening to right now, both Web3 and Web2? Like, what's maybe a couple of things that you're listening to musically.
I've been listening to a lot of music that helps me stay high vibe and helps with like manifestation. Because I'm one that like lyrics will just go through my mind over and over and over and over again. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm listening to stuff that's, intentional and is going to be helpful. I created a playlist on my Apple Music that's called Energy, and it's just a lot of really great like down tempo, a lot of hip hop infused songs that are all about like being yourself and owning your power and yeah, showing up well in the world.
Love that, and I love the hip hop influence. We bonded over that. I that's the majority of what I listened to. Um, and I think we probably talked about this a little bit too, but I do want to get this out in the open so this conversation can be had a little bit more. Um, I personally think that we have a lot more room for more ranges of hip hop, and I think right now, no shade on anybody that's already out there, but I think that we need more hip hop in the space, and I'm just curious to know your take on that.
Hmm, I love that. I think more is always great. I think more voices, more expression, more creativity. I welcome all of it. I think, there's room for everyone when it comes to that. I agree. I think there are definitely some sounds that can be included in the conversation. I know here in Salt Lake City, people wouldn't associate, hip hop music with Salt Lake City. There is a huge, thriving scene of artists that are looking for an outlet because the hip hop station recently closed, like in the last year or so. So it had been around for about 20 years, and now there's not even that access to have their music played, on a hip hop station here locally. And so I think that there's some room to grow there, and that's something that I want to dive into and start reaching out to some of the artists that I met. I actually was the morning radio show co-host for that station, and I met a lot of great artists through that. And so I want to reach out to them and maybe we can do a mixtape of our own. That's a Salt Lake City mixtape.
I find that really interesting. Like, so there's just no hip hop outlet, like as far as like traditional radio is concerned out there at all now.
They rebranded it into a completely different station, and it's just called The Beat, and it's all throwbacks. So it's still hip hop, but it's 90s, early 2000s hip hop. So
It's
it's
old.
not anything new. Yeah. And so for artists that are trying to break into terrestrial radio locally, that's not really a thing.
That's really interesting. So I'm originally from Denver. I've lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and in my experience, whenever I go back to Denver, it's the same way. So like I'll turn on the radio, like if I'm driving to my folks' car or something like that, and I'm like, how are they still playing like 50 Cent and Eminem? Like this is like, it's
Yes.
weird. I'm like, this is old.
Yeah, it's old and it's the same stuff, and it's really interesting. My husband taught high school for a little while, and he was shocked that, that's what kids listened to when he was, like, a teacher. He was like, "That's what they listen to." I'm like, How? Like, why?" But I guess, like, if that's what their parents are listening to and that's all that they're exposed to, and then they listen to the radio and that's what they hear, you know? But I thought that was funny. Side note,
That's
I grew up in Denver as well. I
really
moved to
what
Salt
part?
Lake when I was 12. I grew up in Broomfield, actually.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
up north. So my grandma used to live up there. I was like Southwest, like Lakewood area. Like I went to like Denver Public Schools. I went to Kennedy.
Nice. That's
So
awesome.
no, I hate Denver. But anyway,
I I have family that's back there now, and I go and visit. It doesn't, I'm just like, it's a big city. It's fine, but for me, it's just like lateral. It's like Salt Lake,
yeah. Well, and
both
also
mountains.
it's look, you live in Salt Lake, so like you're still used to it. But like I am not made like being removed from that for 20 years now. Like I am not built for the cold at all. So
I will not lie, I'm not either. This is the time of year every year where I'm like, why do we live here? It's too cold. It was 7 degrees last week in the morning. Yeah,
So
that's
we
not
hit a
great.
stretch in where it was like 10 for 2 weeks, and I was like, "What is happening right now?" Like, this is
Yeah,
Atlanta.
that's,
Well, then also,
that's pretty
we were
scary.
in we were in Basel in December, right? So we're in Miami, and,
Right.
it's, like, relatively warm, and then you're like, "Guess what?" So,
Joke's on you. Yeah, that was
right.
pretty crazy though, that cold front that came through Atlanta and, like, with freezing pipes and everything. That's kinda scary because it's not as prepared for that, you know?
No, it's funny because and Atlanta catches a lot of flack, but, like, it's just not made for the cold. It really isn't.
No.
If it freezes here, like, it's a problem. Like, they can't salt roads, pipes aren't made for it, all sorts of things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I love
Really
Atlanta. My sister lived there for over a decade, so I went there all the time. She was working for Delta, so I flew out there. There was a time where I was out there every weekend for a few years. I love
Wow.
that city.
Yeah, yeah, I love it here. I think the only thing that we would be better is if we had, like, a beach, but,
Yeah, for sure.
oh, well.
We love the beach.
Well, look, I wanna say thank you for coming on. I really, 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 really appreciate you sharing your time. This is the part of the show where I wanna hand it over to you where, 1, you make sure you tell everybody where we can find you. Oh, small plug too, everybody follow Sheik on Huddle In. Go to the App Store, HUDDLN. Follow Sheik. She's posting content on there. I'm gonna push her to post more BTS content about this album since I know an album is in the works.
Aw, yes.
Uh, tell everyone where they can find you and anything else that you want to lay on us.
Yeah, at Chic Bangs on all socials. Chicbangs.com is my website. You can check it out. I've got some music from the vault on there. I've got some mixtapes you can listen to. It's in the middle of being completely revamped right now, so it is what it is right now. I am working on Club Chic, which is going to bring my wellness aspect into the picture. So I'm also a certified yoga instructor, and I've been teaching since 2013. So that's my way of being able to support people. I think that with Shake and with this album that I'm working on, I want people to dance more. I think we need to move more, and just bring more joy back into our lives. And I also want people to rest more. And so that's going to be where I can offer like some of the more restful, like nourishing things that have helped me and that I know I can help other people with. So yeah, Club Chic is coming soon.
Love it. That's beautiful. And I do want to give a special shout out to Zoratopia for recognizing you, having you play there and having you present for that sort of thing. I think that that's necessary, and I love that. Even when people are just DJing, that like that gets the proper love that it should between like you and Abjo. I love that. So, um,
Me too. Super grateful for Zoratopia and for Latasha. Absolutely.
yeah, the whole team there, great team. Um,
Hmm.
Thank you again. We'll be on the lookout. Oh, and I'm gonna let you plug this, because you'll probably get in trouble if you don't. Your husband has a drop coming soon too, right?
He sure does. Tomorrow. No, what's the date? Today's the 7th? I don't even know what date it is anymore. The 9th on Sound XYZ. Yeah, it's called I'm Like Same, and it's a fun like tongue-in-cheek song about being extroverted, introverted, and like kind of that dance between the two, and how you find your place in that. And it's really great. I'm super excited for people to hear it. And
Awesome.
I'm super excited for him. Yeah.
Well, look, I just saved your life, so now we're even.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again, and thank you for anybody tuning in now or after the fact. Again, if you haven't already, download Huddlin, HUDDLN, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the next one of these. Thanks, Sheik.
Thank you so much, Jared. Appreciate you.